Question of the day today: how do you manage stress? Now, as April is Stress Awareness Month, we are being joined today in our season finale episode with a Hawaiian cultural practitioner who is changing lives and lifestyles using Hawaiian culture. Also, we have a big announcement for you, something that we have been working on and really excited to bring to the public today. And next month is AAPI Heritage Month, a month that is deserving of critical conversation within the community. And we are going to be talking about that and more on the season finale episode of Pasifika Voices podcast. Welcome, everyone. Again, I am your host, Tonga Victoria, and thank you for tuning in to another episode, the season finale episode of Pasifika Voices podcast. We are so excited to bring to you another conversation, another episode of trending events, of community updates and announcements that we think are important for all of us to keep up to date with and to be informed of. So, with that being said, as I always do in every episode, is start with who we are. If this is your first time tuning in, make sure you subscribe to our channel, both here on Facebook and then also on YouTube. We also have our Instagram platforms where we do daily publishing of content that covers what we're doing within the organization, our programs, and our initiatives. So you want to make sure and follow those channels to stay up to date with all things Anamatangi. Now, who are we? Anamatangi Polynesian Voices is a Silicon Valley-based organization committed to serving systems impacted communities through heritage preservation and civic engagement. Now, if you're interested in joining the action, volunteering, donating, or simply just learning about more of our programs and our initiatives, you can do so by visiting our website at www.anamatangi.org. Again, that is www.anamatangi.org. On the far upper right corner, there is a donate button that'll take you to the portal where you can make donations, and then you can learn more about our programs. You can visit our newsroom where we are submitting and publishing daily articles, weekly articles, rather, of things that are happening in the community and how our youth are being involved in that. So, with that being said, I will just go ahead and get into our very big announcement. This is something that we are so excited to bring. Again, I'm sure you already know if you're seeing the overlay up above me, what the announcement is. We are launching Take the Mic. Take the Mic is our flagship program, and we are so excited for the third cohort that we will be working with and guiding and developing into leaders this summer. So Take the Mic is journalism with a Pasifika twist. And if you are interested in wanting to be a peer mentor this summer, if you have a passion for Pasifika heritage, you want to work with youth, you want to learn the basics of data collection, you're interested in learning and gaining skills around communications media, and you are a resident or living in East Palo Alto, you want to sign up for this opportunity to get paid to lead this summer. This is such a fun program, and I know I'm biased because I created it, but this was created for the likes of youth who are wanting to learn more and gain skills that are recognized within the workforce. So if you are looking to perhaps a career pathway in communications media or data collection, given that we do live in Silicon Valley, this is the place for you to come and really develop in those skills. So Take the Mic program, the peer mentor application is ready to launch, and right after this episode, what I will be doing is, like I've mentioned before, we will be putting it on our website as we do everything. And then if you are not subscribed to our newsletter, please do so, because our newsletter is always our first touch point with our community, with our donors, our stakeholders, long before it gets on our social media. And so we want to be able to directly send this information to you and to your inbox prior to you scrolling and you seeing it randomly on social media. So make sure that you head over to our website, www.anamatangi.org, subscribe to our newsletter to make sure that you are on our mailing list, so that you can get both this incredible flyer and then also the application that goes with it. Again, if you are a East Palo Alto youth, 18 to 24 years old, and you're interested in the list on the flyer, you need to apply for this program. And we're really excited because, as you all know, we've been doing work with East Palo Alto Youth at EPA Academy under the Youth Elevation Campaign. And so spots are filling up quickly. I know that for sure. And so you want to make sure, if you aren't a student at EPAA, you're not part of the Youth Elevation Campaign, but you are someone that really wants to get involved this summer, please make sure you reach out and subscribe to our newsletter. And we're really excited. We're really excited to accept applications, to meet new students, and really to get our third cohort this summer. So yeah, make sure you subscribe and do all those wonderful things, and you will have all this information in your inbox. Moving on. So today, as we mentioned in our intro, we are going to be having a conversation around stress. And given that it is Stress Awareness Month in April, we want to really recommit ourselves to the work that we carry out every day in the organizational work around stress, around mental health, specifically around working with our partners to build safe spaces for our youth, to begin learning mental wellness techniques, to begin learning how to reflect in a positive, healthy way on some of the experiences that they have and that they carry with them as a young person. And so, in doing so, in the spirit of continuing this conversation, we have brought and invited into this space today a Hawaiian cultural practitioner who has just been on the ground doing this work, partnering with huge universities such as Manoa, and really advancing both Hawaiian culture, but also mental wellness and physical wellness. And so, without further ado, I wanted to invite our guest, Alyssa Kahapea.
Aloha
Hello.
kako.
Thank you
Alyssa
for joining
Kahapea
us
ko'ino.
today. Thank you for joining us today, Alyssa. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good, good. So I kind of said in my intro what our question of the day was today. How do you manage stress? And I know that you can probably answer this question in different layers. But before that, I wanted to give you some time to share who you are and perhaps your lineage and where you come from.
Yeah, thank you. Aloha kako, Alyssa Kahapea ko'inoa, no Kapalaki Komayao from San Francisco Bay Area. No ko'u hana mai, Hilo mai. They're from Hilo. My family's from the Big Island. And if we trace our lineage back many generations, part of our family came from Samoa and part of it came from Kahiki or Tahiti. So we can trace it as far back as then, and that's just through our storytelling, right? Through keeping the genealogy alive. But yes, I am the founder of Pali Wellness. We help people live longer and better. And the name of our company, Pali it's an olelo no iao, Pali mahina kialo, meaning bring your back up like the mountains and brighten your face like the moon. So in old Hawaii, now in the Western world, there's a certain physique that people try to get to. That means that they're attractive, right? But Palikekua Mahina Kealo back in old Hawaii was a way to describe someone who held themselves tall and confident, and their face was bright like the moon. So what does that mean? They're confident, they may be pain-free, And so that's what we're trying to, that's our mission, is to make people just feel better. And we do that through movement and nutrition. Um, yeah, so I got into this field, I think because I had a lot of health issues myself, and I saw a lot of my family go through different things like heart attacks and strokes at really young ages. And, you know, when I started to get my own health issues coming up, like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, I was pre-diabetic when I was a late teen. Um, I was injured, I was at my lowest point, and I just saw my health really declining. And so I knew that my grandpa, at the same time, he had actually had his fifth heart attack. He's still alive and well today. But I said, if I didn't change anything with my lifestyle, then, you know, I didn't want to start having heart attacks when I was 40. Um, and, we can go into the layers of, you know, Pacific Island health, and there's not much research around it. And we know a lot of our families have suffered generational trauma and, lack of getting access to healthier foods like we used to have. Um, but that's what kind of led me on my path, was this really low point. And then I started to learn more about health. And part of it was working on a lo'i in a taro farm. And I started to really build my relationship. So when I was going to university, on Oahu, University of Hawaii at Manoa, I was working on a taro farm, and being a Bay Area person my whole life, moving there, getting immersed into the culture, and actually connecting with the land, I learned so much about how long it takes to actually grow a good crop that's nutrient dense. So I don't know if you guys have ever been to a taro farm, a wetland taro farm. If you look at it, half of the taro fields are empty, half of them are full with taro. We weren't working on the crops that were already there and growing. The work went into the soil. So for 9 months, just like a human, we're putting leaves, we're putting things into the soil, mixing it every day. It's physical labor. We're trying to feed the soil so much nutrients. And that's what someone's fitness journey is like too. Then when we plant the crop 9 months later, the thing just grows really good. And, I learned patience during that job. I learned how to connect with the land much closer. Um, I learned to eat more real foods, right?
Right.
Uh, because I think in Polynesian culture, you know, we surround our gatherings with food, which a lot of people do, but it's with food, with music, and to really tend to the crop and like pray over your food, really find gratitude for the pig you just killed or the crop you grew for 9 months. You have a greater appreciation for the land and also feeding your body the right things. So yeah, that really kind of helped me dive into all those things. Now fast forward, I eventually moved back to the Bay Area in 2015. I started working at Equinox Sports Club. To fancy gym. Kanye West raps about it in some of his songs. And I was working mostly with kupuna. So when I graduated university, I was mostly working with, I was studying aging. And so I was working with elders that lived in the Four Seasons. So I was working with 102-year-olds and, really just trying to preserve their body for as long as possible. And goes back to our mission statement, Pali. But when I was working at the gym, it was all about just like us getting it to a certain physique and trying to do it as fast as we can. And it didn't really help bring sustainable habits to people. So I started my side hustle, which is this business now. And then when 2020 hit, I was able to start teaching wellness from a Hawaiian perspective, more holistic, because we know that health is more than just exercise and diet. That's what we hear a lot from the doctors, right? Oh, you're overweight. exercise and diet. Focus on diet and exercise. Cholesterol is high, diet and exercise. Pre-diabetes, diet and exercise. But we don't know what that means for our specific bodies. So anyway, that's how Pali came about.
Thank you so much for sharing that background and also what led you to founding your own wellness institute and company. There are a couple of things that you said that I just wanted to kind of engage in further. But before that, as you were talking about, the tallness and the posture, I'm like raising myself off of the
Yeah.
couch, like tilting the computer a little bit because now I'm a little taller than what I was before. And so I just wanted to thank you for that because now it's like you feel, even if you're sitting down, you feel more active,
Right.
even if you're in a stagnant sitting remote state. And as you were mentioning about Pacific Islander health, I mean, just even in the Western world, we know that obesity is a huge disease. It's a huge epidemic in its own because of the fast food, because of the microwave generation that we're living in, where if you want
Mm-hmm.
something, you can just go through a drive-through, and we know that those drive-throughs are in cities where our people are living in large
Mm-hmm.
populations.
Right.
When you got into this, did you ever feel like the hill was too steep of a battle to climb in kind of the fight against you know the, the health diseases that plague and continue to plague our communities?
That's a really good question. I always thought that our looking back to the past and how our peoples, live pre-Western contact, they already had a system in place.
Mm,
And so I feel like the answers are there. I'm just bringing people's awareness back to it.
right.
For example, we a lot of the time, hard work and, not sleeping is really praised in, you know, uh, the States and, um, not sleeping, hard work, blah, blah, blah. But in old Hawaii, you'd wake up with the sun, you'd have like a moment of prayer or gratitude, whatever you want to call it, and you watch the sunrise and you chant with it. And I guess that's what a therapist would call grounding. And
Mm,
you're also like, when you're chanting, your vagal nerves getting vibrated, and that does so much for your brain. And then you're seeing the sunrise coming up. And it's all of these things that different wellness and what is there? There's a new word um, that the wellness space is using. I'm forgetting it right now, but biohacking. Biohacking is the word. Biohacking, but our
God,
ancestors already had this, like
hacking.
basically like optimizing your body as best as you can in this Western world. So some of it is like looking at the sunrise in the early morning rays, blah blah blah. But like, well, my kupuna have already been doing this for
Mm,
there were so many answers to it. They'd work right after they do their morning, gratitude. They eat, work, and then the middle of the day, the hottest part of the day, you rest, you nap, and then you go back to work. There was like a period of rest, and people don't rest anymore. People don't like
right.
take a break. Like you go hard and then you rest in the middle of the day. You rest at the hottest part of the day, and then you go back to work. And then everything is a gathering with the family around dinner and food. And again, ending your day with gratitude with your family, sitting at the table. Um, so to answer your question, I didn't think it was a I think health can be really complicated, but I feel like our ancestors already had the answers. They already had systems in place. And now I think the world just needs those systems to be brought to light. And we do that in a more of a movement perspective, and we sneak in like, hey, if you're stressed out, maybe go watch the sunrise. If your sleep's off, go watch the sunrise. And I'll bring those things in, sneaking in that Hawaiian perspective, biohacking, whatever the new word is. Um, but yeah, I think the answers were already there. I'm just bringing it to light, and it's not my idea. It's already established.
Right, right. That's so good. And I think it's interesting because when we're looking at other areas of culture, heritage, those things can be very much very hard to grasp because if, for instance, you're thinking about navigators, we're like, we were once navigators or we were once fishers. Not everyone can be that nowadays, where you might live in a landlocked community where there's no body of water around you, or
Right.
might not have the means to go in seawater or large bodies of water, or sometimes you're just afraid of the water. I don't know, but when it comes to like actually improving your health and looking at the ways of the cultural ways, the traditional ways of doing that, there's a very practical side to this compared to again navigating canoe making. We're not making canoes now in the Western world. Maybe you are, but for the most of us, we're not getting that practical, very tangible side of culture and
Mm.
heritage. When people and I know you mentioned that you work with elders, do you work with young people who might be of Hawaiian descent or perhaps of Polynesian descent, who are like, I want to do this because I want to learn more about my culture, and the health side is just an addition to that? Do you have clients like that?
Mm. Yeah, I would say right now with the Maliola initiative, so we've partnered with UH Manoa, and I'll mention a little bit about this at
Yeah,
the end if possible, because we actually have a free workshop tomorrow night. But with the Maliola initiative, we have a lot of college students right now. I don't think we have anyone younger than 18 that's interested so far, but a lot of them are getting into these Hawaii Bishop basically has some different grants going on with, being able to, they want more farmers, they want more Hawaiian farmers, they want more people, young generation to get into that. And so that's the population you see coming to some of our workshops. But they know it's good for their health. I know that they're getting into more of the farming to keep themselves active. And, you know, that's how our ancestors stay active. They had to go, take the maybe not canoe all the time to go get fish, but throw net or be active in order to cook their meals, right? Pounding poi, pounding ulu. It was physical labor. They didn't have a KitchenAid mixer. They didn't, like they had to actually build the fire, get the rocks, like cut the banana tree down. Like that was working out before. Now we
hmm,
live in a time where I can order DoorDash right to my front door and I don't have to do
anything, right?
anything, right? So this is what we try to teach now is how to move your body intentionally because making food before tending to the land was the exercise. So to
Yeah.
go back to your question, circling back because I went on a tangent there. Um, we have young farmers that are doing the farming work and they know it's going to benefit their health.
Yeah.
So,
So talk to me about because what I hear when you say that is like there's this attitude, and I don't know if it's an idea, but there's an attitude of entitlement that we have been, I don't know about millennials, but definitely those younger than us, yeah, perhaps millennials, where we're just, okay, I'm ordering from this app and it's getting here and I can literally know when they leave the restaurant to now. How can someone of your position who is trying to teach, reclaim culture, reclaim our cultural inheritance, how do you combat those ideas where it's just like, no, sometimes you don't need to always order off of DoorDash, how is that done?
yeah, that's a good question too. I think a lot of the times what we're trying to do is, yes, get people closer to their local farmers wherever they live because we're working with people all over the world. So get closer to your land, get closer to the farmers, get to know them on a first name basis if you can, if you have a farmer's market in your area.
Mm,
Um, and you still have the option if you're living in an area with DoorDash, you're still gonna have the option to order it, but what we try to do, let's say you're having 3 meals a day. That's what most people are having, right? 3 meals a day, that's 21 meals a week. How about if we can try to prepare 18 of them at home? And that's a big goal. Some people are eating out 100% of the time. So it's like we're trying to just convert. We're looking at a week basis. If
Yeah.
they're eating out 21 days or 21 meals, okay, how can we just get it to 7? How can we just get breakfast at home?
That's
And
so
then,
good.
so that's how we kind of approach it, to build the habit, because we can't just say, oh, just stop ordering your DoorDash, because it's not going to work
Right.
that way when the convenience is there,
Right.
but that's one way we kind of strategize it. Another way is, um, just if someone is battling pre-diabetes, diabetes, which is very common in our Pacific Island populations, if you're going to order the food, or whatever food you're eating something at home, you're ordering DoorDash, go for a walk after. That'll bring your
Mm,
blood sugar down. Or else you're going to be up all night, and you can get restless. So go
yeah. Yeah.
walk, move the energy, your food energy that you just took in through the body. Walk. That could
Right.
bring it down. So yeah, those are the little tips and
Yeah.
tricks.
That's good. I think what I'm hearing, what's coming up to mind is preparation as part of our indigenous practice. And our executive director Tiffany so popularly says all the time that the power play is in the prep. That when you prep, and so we like to over prepare a lot of times when we go into meetings or we have strategy sessions, is to be the one most prepared. And when we're looking at the cultural traditions, all of those things, there is a very, very strong element of preparation.
Mm,
And so I really appreciate that you are really shedding light on that, because that is really important, and very practical too. If you're talking about meal prep and being intentional, from the moment you take out your pen and paper and you're writing down the ingredients to then showing up at the store, and kind of following that process to maintain it. But I wanted to shift a little bit because I know earlier you were talking about land, and I know in our conversation yesterday, you really spoke about, you shared an experience that you had with the land, in your country of heritage, Hawaii, and how that kind of enabled this cultural rebirth, if you will. Can you share with our audience what that experience was, when you experienced that?
yeah. I think, one of the biggest things was, this is the story about going to Kaho'olawe, right? Yeah. So Kaho'olawe, Hawaii is made up of many islands, one of them being Kaho'olawe. And it's an uninhabited island now. And, early 1900s, a lot of the Hawaiians that were there were displaced, brought to Maui, brought to Lanai. If you've ever been to Maui, you can look across the way and it's just this empty island. So the US has bombed it so much that it actually broke the cap of the island,
Mm,
the water table. The water table, so that's what actually holds the mountains up. So when you crack the water table, then the land just starts to erode. But we were doing some um land restoration there. And as Kanaka Maoli, as people of that place, I felt the calling to go experience taking care of it. And so we went from Maui, we got on this boat, really rough waters in the morning. It was like 4 a.m., so the sun had not rose yet. And then they pull up a Zodiac. The Zodiac's on the side of the boat. They put it down. They said, strongest swimmers first. So we go, we put the Zodiac in the water. It's a rubber boat. That's what a Zodiac is. They take us as close to as we can to the shore. They said, here's these garbage bags. You're going to put all your stuff in there, blow it up with air, tie a knot, and go swim. Swim your stuff to the shore. There's no landing dock. There's nothing. Anyway, that was the experience. It is a raw, undeveloped island, and the military has left a lot of things on there. So there was a lot of warning before we got to the island. Only walk between these paths. If you see ordnance, grenades, bombs, mark it. We all had, orange things to mark it with, but we had to be very careful where we were walking at all times. And we were there for 3 or 4 days. And the connection I felt with the land and the connection I felt with everybody else in that group, there's about 40 other people from keiki, from kids, all the way up to seniors. The seniors were there to just help us with with the pule, with the prayer around our food at the end of every day. It was so strong. And in the mornings, we would wake up, and this was the first time I chanted E ala e. So for any Hawaiians listening to this, E ala e is the sunrise chant. You're chanting the sun up, and everybody gets up, and we're all in this line. So women are on one side, men on the other, and then it's the eldest in the middle, all the way to the youngest out. And we're chanting, we're singing in the same harmony, we're clapping, and we're watching the sunrise. And I just felt so connected to the land, to my people, and that was kind of my cultural rebirth
Mm,
during that time on the island. Just preparing meals, singing, laughing with everybody, and then when I left the island, I cried. Yeah, I missed it. Um, I haven't been back since, but it's been kind of calling me. So yeah, it was definitely a cultural rebirth, and I don't know, something from that experience just made me realize that sure, money is important for us to survive. It's a tool, but connecting with something on a deeper level, connecting with your culture, connecting with your health is much more important. Money is just a tool.
right.
So, but if you have money as a Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, you can buy land back and do the things that you need to do to restore it. But yeah, so I think from there, I kind of knew I wanted to help Hawaiians, help Pacific Islanders, and get our people healthier. Because if the land is healthy, then the people are healthy, and vice versa.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. And I know yesterday, as you were sharing that, what was coming up for me was, my own cultural rebirth. As I mentioned, and keep mentioning on this episode or on this podcast, is that I am here in Tongan, have been here since the team arrived in August of last year, and being able to work here and meet community and really be a part of the local society, and really have a connection. My husband is a farm boy, like through and through. He farms his own food. He hates, like, when I'm like, "Hey, can we go get like some burgers?" He's just like, "Ew, that's gross." Um, but really, this cultural rebirth, when you are in kind of really that your element, like you in some way it connects with a very deep part of you.
Mm.
And I wanted to ask you this yesterday. I'm sure I did. I just forgot. Um, how did that impact your sense of cultural identity? Did it? I mean, given that you said you Bay Area all your life, being someone who kind of either is part of the American experiment, or I don't know if you claim your Americanness, as much as I do so much. But how did that impact your cultural identity as a Hawaiian, and then also living in America?
Ooh, ooh. Okay, I'm gonna try to do this in a nutshell. I think it helped me with my identity much more because I'm of mixed descent. I'm Hawaiian. I'm also Latin. I'm also European mix, and um, I always felt like I could understand life better from a Hawaiian lens. Like the structure, things made sense. When I was working like Hawaiian work hours, like I was telling you, waking up with the sun, work hard, then rest hard, and then work hard again. I felt like my life was most balanced. And then when I got back to the Bay and I started grinding 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the gym, I was like, this is not balanced. I'm not gonna be able to sustain my life. And I'm just gonna be on a hamster wheel. I can't actually create. We're talking about how Pacific Islanders really create, and it didn't allow me to get into that creative space because I was always burnt out and stressed. So, uh, it did help me with my identity quite a bit. I was always confused on the standardized state testing here. You had to only, when I was a kid, you could only choose one race, one ethnicity, and um, I was always confused with that. I would mark three, and the teacher would say, "You can't mark three." And I'm like, "But I'm all three." And then she's
Right.
like, "No, no, you can't. Like, you can only choose one." So sometimes I choose one, sometimes I choose another one. And anyway, it really helped with that because I was confused as a kid why I could only choose one.
Mm,
Um, but now I realize there's so many Hawaiians out there that are not connected with culture, especially on the mainland. We have more than half of our native Hawaiian population on the West Coast or, you know, in the mainland and not in Hawaii, not connected to their land. A lot of my cousins, they just do the grind thing, and I feel like I'm really lucky to have connected to the land, to my family
yeah.
even more that's living there. And now I have the power living here again to implement this lifestyle and to give people, Hawaiian tips and tricks to slow down because
Mm,
they're too stressed out and it's impacting their health.
yeah. Right. That's it's you. I know you were talking about this in the beginning, where it's much more than just the food that you're eating, um, and also, what are you taking on as part of your day? Especially in San Mateo County, Silicon Valley, where you have to work 2 to 3 jobs in order to sustain a livable income. And so that idea of slowing down is like very anti-cultural for people who have not or are not connected to the land, even broader than that, the culture itself. And so I know what for me living here, the rat race only exists when my computer is on. If the
Mm.
computer is not on, the Wi-Fi is not on, um, the day goes by so quietly and it goes by so slowly. And I think one of the biggest uh, key words of wisdom that I got when I first moved here in 2019 was that here in Thailand you don't time doesn't own you. Um,
Mm.
you know, time does not own you if you want to back away from it. That's why they're like, that's why Tongan time is a real thing because time doesn't own us. We show up when we show up, and it is a respect for the family and what they're doing. But when everyone shows up, it's like the perfect time.
Right.
And to set that into Silicon Valley context, it's like, oh, time owns your behind. Like you running to catch up with time in so many ways. And so I think that is very important, especially for younger people, especially in this day and age where social media might serve as a substitute or replacement for learning about culture. Um, in comparison to actually traveling and being on the land and being in community. I think that is equally as important. Um, I'm really enjoying this conversation, and if
Me
you
too.
are, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. There's a comment in our section. Cecilia Afulia says, "Now I know why I can't sleep after eating at night." Yeah, I know that's me too. You're like Alyssa's talking about things to do after you eat. She's like, okay, write this down. Things to do after I eat tonight. We're bringing so much wisdom to this platform. Again, Pasifika Voices podcast season finale. If you are watching this on the replay, please make sure you tune in to the whole episode. This has been such a treat and conversation. Now, I wanted to take the conversation just very like sidebar and talk about AAPI Heritage Month. It's coming up. month of May, and I feel like around this time, April 19th, mid-April, people start getting either filled with anger, hostility, or excitement, depending on where you stand on the acronym Asian American Pacific Islander. Now, as a native Hawaiian, where the acronym does not include the Native Hawaiian group, and we know that the history of Native Hawaiians is very unique to both the Asian American and the Pacific Islander group. What are your thoughts on the acronym?
Ooh, um, this is raw. Uh, let's see. I feel like, you know, Native Hawaiians have a very close connection to Pacific Islanders. And I also feel like, Asian Americans right now, especially the ones living in Hawaii, they have such a close connection to the culture. Um, I, as a Native Hawaiian, I feel disappointed that we're not kind of included in that, but I still kind of fit us into that Pacific Islander
Yeah.
uh, mix in there. So I guess that's how I feel about it. It's kind of brings me back to those days when I was doing the testing and having to pick one race, one ethnicity, and that's it. But we're so much more.
That's so good. That's so good. Another hot topic that's kind of been trending everywhere on Twitter, on Instagram, is the Lilo and Stitch live action movie, and the recasting. I had to ask you this, and the recasting of Nani. And if you're not familiar with the character Nani, she is the older sister to Lilo. And if you haven't watched Lilo and Stitch, I'm questioning you. But it's a Disney movie, and they've recasted Nani, and this is a picture of the the person who will be playing the character of Nani. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what I'm talking about, but if you're
I might
not,
not be up to date, so bring me up to date.
yeah, you're like, I'm actually not a part of this, so clearly I am. But so Disney has casted. I don't know her name, but she is half Hawaiian. I'm not sure half Hawaiian, but she's Hawaiian, Filipino, um, of Latin descent as well. And they casted her, and I believe I saw this on Twitter, so don't quote me on this. That Disney plans to tan her
Oh,
to be the melanin of Nani, and of course Twitter just in uproar about this. How can you cast someone who does not portray Native Hawaiians? They have their own experiences, and there are so many Native Hawaiians that could play and portray this character correctly. What are your thoughts? Not to put you on the hot spot, still.
yeah. No, this is good. I thought you were gonna bring up the Disney hula person because that's been trending around like crazy. But
Yes, we can.
this
That's,
this is an interesting topic too. I didn't even realize I didn't really know anything about it until you just brought it up. But I would say there's a lot of Native Hawaiians. Most Native Hawaiians have a really small blood quantum now, and I think people are really unaware of this. I think when I went to Hawaii, and I'm only a quarter Hawaiian. If you're looking at Coco, a lot of people don't like to look at the blood, the
mm,
percentage. Um, they're like, "Whoa, you're a quarter?" Because Kamehameha schools, they're still counting if you're 1/64th, right? So the face of a Hawaiian looks like me, looks like her, looks maybe more Asian, maybe they're Samoan and Hawaiian mix. Like I don't know, the face of a Hawaiian looks different now, and I think it kind of replicates, you know, what she looks like, what some other Native Hawaiians look like. When I do different meetups, they look all mixed, and I wouldn't see the need to tan her. That's kind of an odd thing, but
yeah,
yeah.
man. you bring up such a powerful point on um, casting someone who really can reflect the history um,
Mm,
most accurately. That um, historically Hawaiians were taught to not speak the language. We're taught to quote unquote mix blood to not breed with other Hawaiians. And this is you're absolutely right. The face of the Hawaiian has changed dramatically, and that is due to historical events.
mm-hmm,
Um, and so I think that right there is such a significant comment and
mm,
observation. And in a society that is so amped on race and talking about race and making everything about the color of the skin without really contextualizing, especially on Hawaiian history and what happened um, to Hawaiian communities and the annexation and those things. That this is just the result, and I think that is a critical piece that is missing in social media discourse right now around this topic of the recasting of Nani. And so thank you for saying that, because now you've educated me to not see it and kind of fuel the fire
right,
that is just the ongoing fire that is social media. But
right.
again, you mentioned the Moana. Was it the Disney character?
I thought that's what you're gonna bring up at first. I was like, oh,
But yeah,
let me
let's talk
see.
about it. I mean, what are your thoughts on
Oh
it? Given
man.
that
So
Merry Monarch Festival had just happened, like, what are your thoughts?
oh man. Hula is basically a religious practice, right? For
Mm,
Hawaiians to showcase themselves, to Pali, to it's a art, it's also part of our Hawaiian religion, and I don't know if you've seen it, but that's what's going wild right now on
oh, I
social
saw
media
it.
too, at least what I've been seeing. But yeah, it just kind of a disgrace,
Yeah.
that they would have, Disney, I think, and there's probably a lot of people that could disagree with me too. I think they did a little bit more research when creating this character, Moana. They took from three different Pacific Island cultures, right, to create the character. So you have some things in there that look more Samoan. There's some things in there, there's different things from different Pacific Island cultures. Not everyone was so happy with that, and that's okay. But the connection was with Maui, and the storyline I felt like was pretty okay. And Disney did a little bit better job, I think, with that than Pocahontas or some other things. And it was good to just get Pacific Island representation in there, because one of my best friends, when she was a little girl, this is before Moana came out, she goes, Auntie, I was doing my makeup. She goes, I want to have whiter skin like you. I said, no, baby, don't say that. And she goes, I want to have white skin like, Ella, or what is one of the Norway
Frozen,
princesses. Yeah,
Elsa.
yeah, yeah. Frozen. Elsa, Ella. Elsa, I should know that. And when Moana came out, then she had someone like a princess to look at that looked like her, right? So she's Hawaiian, Filipino, and Jewish. And
Mm,
um, so she's an interesting mix, but you just never know what skin you're gonna get when you pop out, right? Like some of my
right.
cousins, they have more of that Polynesian darker skin, and
Yeah.
I'm one of the lighter ones in the family, but I know more of the culture,
Right. Right.
you
that is
know?
so good. That is so
Yeah,
good. And I know that those are the videos that go viral when
yeah.
someone who is half caste, shows up to a cultural event, ceremony, function, and they're the only ones that can speak the native tongue, and everybody else is like, "Wait, hold on, I thought they was, I thought they was not of
Yeah,
the community. They can like,
yeah.
they just like, speaking the tongue. They know the traditions. They know the protocols. They know not to walk in front of somebody. They know what to
Mm,
say. Like and those are the things that trend on, and those are the things that have the like people have the most opinions on. And I am definitely one of those people who I'm still learning the language from my husband. I am still learning the protocols. I'm still learning the procedures, and yet still we have this very wide, heavy conversation on social media. Which if you're listening to this, the moral of the story is social media is not always the smartest place, and not always the most credible place. Um, Wow. So thank you so much for adding your 2 cents on both of those topics. I know that is going to make just a great contribution to when we that part of the segment and put it on our socials. I wanted to give you as we close out the final episode of the season, Pasifika Voices podcast, episode 12. I wanted to give you a couple of minutes to just share any last words. I know you wanted to briefly go over some of the work that you're doing in Hawaii.
Yeah, so we've partnered with the University of Hawaii, and the initiative is called the Maliola Initiative. It's basically a way to better your health through a Native Hawaiian lens. And we want to help more people who have been impacted, especially by the pandemic. That's where the grant kind of came from. So Asian American, Pacific Islander, Native Hawaiian, Filipinos, all these groups, and it's going to be virtual. So every month we've had a workshop um, talking about how to improve your health. So just like that little tidbit where I was like, yeah, walk after you eat, take a little walk the
Yeah,
dog. If you have a dog, walk the dog. Um, that can help lower your blood sugar and help you sleep better at night, all these things. You'll learn tips and tricks. So tomorrow, April 20th, and it's going to be, I'll say it in Pacific Standard Time, I'll say Hawaiian Standard Time. I have no idea what time it is over there right now, so you'll have to do that conversion.
yeah,
Thursday, April 20th, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Hawaiian Standard Time. We're going to be doing a workshop on body aches and pains. And specifically, people have been asking about arthritis. So, body aches and pains have been on the rise for all types of people: back pain, knee pain, neck pain, shoulder pain. So, we're going to talk about how to lower inflammation in your body with movement. So, it's going to be a movement based thing. You could turn off your camera. You're going to be laying on the floor just doing stretches. Should feel good.
right.
Um, and then, yeah, just feel free to register. I don't know if I should just put it in the chat. I could send it to
Yeah,
you.
go ahead and put in the chat, and we'll make sure to send that out to our audience.
Yeah, for anyone who's on Oahu, living on Oahu, we're going to be doing a live wellness workshop in May, so May 20th on a Saturday. So you can reach out to us there, and yeah, find us on social media. We give a lot of free, tips and tricks to improve your health.
Right. Well, thank you so much for that plug, Alyssa. We look forward to having our folks tap into what will be, I'm sure, a successful and very meaningful workshop. And again, I wanted to thank you for joining us as we close off this first season of our Pasifika Voices podcast, and really ending it with a bang. I'm talking about stress, talking about culture, and how the two align. Again, to our listeners and our viewers, those who are watching the replay, thank you so much for continuing to keep up to date with us. As mentioned in the beginning, Take the Mic, our summer program, is open for application. And if you are not subscribed to our newsletter, please make sure you do. You can do so at our website, www.anamatangi.org, to stay up to date on all things Anamatangi, and to apply and get your youth to apply for what will be such a fun summer program. So with that being said, I want to thank you, Alyssa. I wanted to thank our viewers, and we will see you next time. You can keep up to date with us on season 2. When that starts, we will roll that out on our social media. So stay tuned for that, and we will see everyone later.